Welcome to Physigoo Gaming. I'm streaming this, so that'll help justifying not having to take a whole bunch of time to editing this when I put it on my YouTube channel. And yeah, that's basically it. It's been a long time since I've done a video, largely because, the heat, for one. I have a feeling that this might just, the computer might overheat during this recording. About a month ago, I think, I got COVID that just knocked me out for a week. How I haven't gotten it before now, I have no idea, but it is what it is. Knocked me out for a good week. And then I've been working on things, and yeah, the editing and time it takes to do a video is a time sink, to say the least. And yeah, so you're going to get all my stuttering, my uhs, my ums, all that kind of thing for this video with no editing. But I'll pretend that I'm talking to people who are watching my Twitch, because, you know, that's what you do with a Twitch. You're talking to a live audience. So welcome, even though there's nobody here, which is totally fine, because it's not like there's been any advertisement for it. Anyway, so news is, yeah, right before I got COVID, I uploaded the Drive-Thru RPG, my next book, which is Build a Mount, which allows you to create mounts with different traits. So you can, there's some that are magical and rare that maybe the DM might impose. It's for D&D 5th edition, and there are other traits that would be trainable. So, you know, it's all up to your DM and the campaign world, which is, you know, an inherently magical thing that you maybe have to go on a quest or go find somebody that, you know, knows horses with these magical abilities or other mounts, while others are, you know, a war-trained, combat-trained mount like the warhorse. And so it integrates the, you know, what a warhorse is into this trait system, and it gives options. The main reason why I started working on it was because the paladin in the game group that I'm running, I shouldn't bang the thing, the paladin in the game group that I'm running just didn't, okay, so you can move faster around the field of battle on his mount, but can't attack with it. It's very weird that it, you know, Player's Handbook 5th edition is just like, yeah, you can either have the mount do its thing, or the rider do its thing and control the mount. And if the mount is being controlled, no attacks. So this gives a way to have mounted warriors use their mounts in battle. And yeah, you know, depending on the level of the PCs, you might want to just make them count it as an extra NPC. If that extra hoof attack is enough during combat encounters to count as another NPC, but as the player's level, I think it's going to get lost in the noise compared to all the other abilities and spells and attacks that the PCs have at their hands. So yeah, today I'm just going to talk about milestones and XP awards and what I think, and I'm going to be pretty hyperbolic about it, I think. So everything I say should be, you know, it's entertainment value first, I guess, or anything that I would say that would be inflammatory on milestones and XP awards for Dungeons & Dragons role-playing game 5th edition. Very, very niche category there. Is going to be hyperbolic in my attitude, maybe a bit flippant, dismissive, etc. But, I mean, really, when it comes down to it, play how you like. Make sure you're having fun. So I thought, while I'm doing this, because nobody's going to be watching, and, you know, whatever, just so there's some type of entertainment. I will be working on the next thing that I'm doing, and it is including a map of a cabin. And so I'm creating all the assets for the cabin to put in there. And yeah, it's taking a very long time. So I thought I'd try to kill two birds with one stone, but I'm not much of a talker when I do this anyways. So yeah, what am I doing? So I should first decide what I'm doing before I talk about Milestone. And what you call it, you can see I've built supposed to be a mug, a plate, knife, spoon. Here's a tripod over here and an iron pot, mortar and pestle. And these are just the resources, and then I'm exporting these and then importing them back as image objects, and then I can resize them as needed. And yeah, so I don't like my perspective on some of these. These are supposed to be leaning against the wall, and I'm not the best artist, so to speak, and I can't really afford hiring artists to do things. So, well, not yet, anyways. So the question is what was I going to do next, right? What object did I need to put in next? Got the frying pan. I decided no forks because they're pretty rare in medieval settings. Yeah, they didn't get invented until late world. I don't know. So what else could I use? I could use fireplace poker holder and poker. So this will be top down, not much perspective to it, I don't think, and that way it should be pretty easy. But anyway, so let's go with milestones and regular XP awards. I think milestones are kind of stupid. I don't like the way that people talk about them when they say they use them, and yeah, they bother me. Now, for anybody that doesn't know what a milestone is, in Dungeons and Dragons and other role-playing games, you have the options. You can use what I would call the standard XP award, which is you kill a monster, it has an experience point value that you then either give to the players or divide by the number of players, PCs, or total characters in the party that are effective. So if you have traveling NPCs with the party, you would divide it by that total. In D&D, Pathfinder, they take out that step, and so it's just the monster is what each player gets, is that experience point award. So and that's the typical, the old and version, the continued, but I've been seeing a lot of people doing milestones online, and interesting to see that, because it seems anathema to me to do milestones. And the reason is because it just feels too arbitrary. Like, the DM is just deciding that they can do a milestone, whenever they feel like it. And I don't like it. I don't. Fix these numbers here. But because, again, it seems very arbitrary. And like, take for example, let's see, Curse of Strahd has example milestones in it. I don't think they have an index. Yeah, that would have been nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, no index. Like, if you're going to have an over 100-page book, you might as well put in you know, an index, because that makes people like me who are trying to stream their first live stream and look something up in a book, you know, take all this time. I mean, riveting. And I'm supposed to just keep talking because, you know, dead air. And then, yeah, and then just goes into village. I thought for sure they had Milestone, classically told, story overview, areas by level, adventuring structure. And then I got this lingering cough from COVID, and it's just, it's annoying, and I apologize for all the coughs. Okay, so I am not seeing any in this first chapter. Or no, that's it. Oh, yeah. So when they find the artifacts, defeating villains, and accomplish story goals are all, you know, examples of when to use a milestone. And what if things go different, right? Or, yeah, what if the players are smart enough that they just get in, find the item, and get out without encountering anybody, defeating anything? That smarts should be rewarded, don't get me wrong, but the players shouldn't, like, it, how do you know, right, that how much that should be awarded? Typically, I would say when the players do something very smart, that is the equivalent of defeating a monster appropriate for their level, a moderate level monster for their level. That's the baseline that I use. And so this arbitrariness, to take the flip side, if the characters don't do a smart thing and they rush in the front gates and they're fighting and slogging their way over several sessions to get through all the enemies in the place and then get the item, then they level. But they could have just, you know, levitated up the back window, up to back window, snuck in, one guy grabbed it and get out, while the other players are just kind of sitting hanging out. And both instances should definitely be rewarded, but I don't think that the character should just level just because. Yeah, see, I do way too much math focus to try to do any of my art stuff, my maps. So, yeah, so milestones just seem absurd, would be my hyperbolic takeaway. And I much prefer having something like the XP awards per monster defeated, which means they don't have to kill them. As long if they the flip side would be if the characters figure out a way to sneak into the castle, avoid all enemies inside, get the object, and get out. Then they all go in, right? So that the threat against them all is still kind of the same, but they're, some are coming for protection, some are coming because they're good for the walks, etc. Typical, a castle is still a dungeon delve of sorts, especially in Curse of Strahd. And if they do that, then I have no problem awarding the players the XP for at least the major monsters they would have definitely encountered, taking the easiest path in, if not a couple extras on the side. and then a separate role-playing game or a separate role-playing XP award equivalent to a moderate encounter. And that may level them or not, but at least it's then keeping it all within this world system of experience points, which are mapped out, and help pace the progression of the characters, so that so that it doesn't feel completely arbitrary. And I've got 2 circles for this. What do you call it? The fireplace poker handle thing. Yeah. I know I should have said at the beginning that I'm gonna, at the end I'll do a quick overview of the table of contents for the Build a Mount book, because that's the newest thing I put out. Excuse me. This is the next thing I'm putting out. It will be an adventure, a short, quick adventure that you could choose to use milestones or not. It's pretty much a one-shot. But anyways, so I don't trust myself as a DM to remember all the things the characters have done accurately enough that me awarding a milestone wouldn't start to come across as arbitrary in the game. And if anything, I don't want my players to feel that I'm being arbitrary, because arbitrariness tends to anger players. They don't like it. They don't like feeling like everything's at the whim of the GM and not according to the game. And so dead air. Oof, sorry. So with the player characters and with the players, I want them to feel that there's fairness in the system that they're playing, especially when it comes, because leveling up is the biggest reward to a player in the game that the DM can basically hand out, right? Role-playing is a joint award that everybody is participating in, right? So I would say that's the greatest reward for the group, but for the players, the greatest reward just for them is leveling up. And because it creates a whole bunch of more work for the DM, they got to use more powerful monsters at that point to create satisfying encounters. But so with the players, that's the biggest reward. And then if they start feeling like you're being arbitrary in when you're giving that reward, they're going to lose trust in you as the DM. So now I have no problem modifying, again, like I said, when I give a role-playing award to the players, that's an equivalent of a micro milestone. So I could feel that they did several really interesting things during the session and decide that counted as 2 monsters of their level, or a deadly encounter, or whatever I feel, and I am getting arbitrary in that. So it's like I'm not fully against arbitrariness, but I'm not fully against just foregoing any type of metric in which to gauge player character advancement. And like if you wanted to do a faster advancement, you could loop in the very old school coins. One gold piece equals an experience point, so that they're if they get a magical item, if they find a magical item worth 1,000 gold, the party gets 1,000 gold pieces or 1,000 experience on top of finding the magical item. And if they find 1,000 gold pieces, they get 1,000 XP, etc. So, doing something like that, especially if it's from the start and everybody knows, hey, I'm going to be using XP and gold coin, or my current DM who's running games for me and some friends, he's using just coin or just monetary value based XP award, and it's really interesting. It definitely throws things off where, like, part of me is like, oh, it's going slow, right? Because uh, my expectation in my brain is, oh, well, after this number of monsters that we fought, we should have leveled. But a lot of those monsters are things like giant rats and skeletons and stuff, which aren't really known to carry a lot of uh, treasure. So it's one of those things. But then when we defeat something that does have treasure, and there's a dog for you, then yeah, you don't get very much. And no, I think strike that, reverse it. When you defeat a monster that has a lot of treasure, then you're getting a lot of XP, and so we actually just leveled after the last session, which I think was our 10th session. So that's level every 10 sessions so far as a metric. And then in the D&D game that I'm running, I think we're on session somewhere around 55, and they just hit 6th level, so it's about 1 level per 9 sessions ish, right? So it's about equal. It's coming out to about equal. And then if you did both, you'd probably expect 1 level per 5, or yeah, for about 5 sessions. But again, especially if a lot of sessions are front or backloaded with the main, the big bad guy, and that's where most of the treasure is found, then you're still probably going to go for every 10 sessions ish, if that's what it ends up taking to get to a big bad guy and defeating him. You're gathering all the information, fighting a couple of loose ends. Then middle section, you're fighting minions and agents of the big bad guy, and then the last third of the act, you're fighting the big bad guy. And I hate using that kind of plot structure term for it, but that's kind of what happens. Although it's more free form, and the players could just go off and decide to spend an extra 5 sessions just hanging out with townsfolk and doing stuff. Anyway, so yeah, that's my basic take on Milestone versus standard XP award versions, and I feel like I've probably talked about it before. Sorry if I have, and I'm trying out this live stream stuff. Hopefully what I might find more fun than doing this, because look what I've done. Pretty much nothing in the time that I've talked, but no, too far. Pretty much nothing in the time that I've talked. Excuse me. Is to play Red Dead Redemption 2 while I'm doing this. Again, I may overheat. If it's over 84 degrees here in my office / garage, then there's there's pretty much a guarantee that my computer's going to overheat unless I use a handheld fan every 5-10 minutes. So that's not optimal for streaming. So I'd have to stream later at night, and then once things cool down a little bit too. But like right now, yeah, it's 100 degrees, almost 101 right here in the garage. I can feel the sweat dripping down my face. Um, anyway, so yeah, that's my take on Milestone versus what you call it. Sorry if I've already talked about it. This is an attempt at first time attempt at streaming in which I have to talk a lot, but it's still fun supposedly to have things being done on the screen. All right, and I think people would have more fun watching me clop around in Red Dead Redemption, playing on a on a Red M server, so far less issues with people coming in and just being asshats. It's a role play server, so people have to abide by the rules or they get called out on it and kicked out. So it's pretty nice. And I'm terrible at in-game role playing. I have no idea why, other than it always just feels forced, and I really don't know what to say. And then I just make characters that are not interested in socializing. My character likes to go hunt, and that's it. So not it, other things. But anyway, yeah, more fun to watch the clops as I do it slowly, because why everybody rushes around in the game anyway. So here's Build a Mount that is on DriveThruRPG under my account, which I believe I'll have a link in the doobly-doo, as they used to call it. I can't remember who started that, and it's bothering me. Anyway, so yeah, so Build a Mount rules for traits for mounts, steeds, and pets. And just come on down here. And yeah, so we got what is a mount, stating specifically, it's using the mount rules, and that's one page, and then adding on to that, adapting that. Some gaming philosophies. The too long didn't read mount rule, just a quick and easy. If you want to have paladins and stuff be able to use their war horses a little more to their advantage, here you go. Note on using these rules for pets as well. Mounts and encounter balance, like I was saying, might need to adjust your encounter balance if now every character is riding a warhorse. That's important. Then I get really into encumbrance, really setting it up so that some of the traits make more sense and have better versatility, right? And then to remind everybody that the mount's encumbrance is dependent on both the horse's equipment or mount's equipment, saddlebags, etc., and then the rider, their weight has to be taken into account, and then the rider's equipment, if they're wearing a backpack while riding, or if they stow the backpack behind the saddle, all of that adds to the mount's encumbrance. So then I got a nice little table in there that shows riding horses are going to be lightly encumbered, and therefore their speed will drop from 60 to 40 at these weights, etc. And for other mounts too. Then there we are. General mount rules, standard mounts, little more information on mounting and dismounting, controlling a mount, benefits, mount morale. So this way, mounts they're animals, and so there should be some check against the players just wanting to use a warhorse constantly to beat the crap out of monsters, in addition to the players' actions. So a mount might decide, nope, I'm out. I don't want to get hurt. Then I add some mount equipment as well as new mount magical items. Then we get into the mount traits, the real meat of this. And then how much does it cost to purchase a mount trait, if it's inherent in the animal or versus getting it trained. And so typically you'd have to find somebody that would be able to train the mount with that trait, and then a certain amount of time and money later, the mount can be trained. Yeah, and then mount challenge ratings, kind of adjustments, and then here's the list of all the traits, and they're split into common traits, uncommon, special, and unique, and then legendary. And yeah, and basically this is just most of these traits are just going through the monster manual and back of the player's handbook. Excuse me again. Going through all of those and going through all the animal intelligent creatures. So creatures with mostly 3, but I think I went up to intelligence 6, and then just pulled those abilities out, and then there's a word, I can't think of what it is, but codified them in here, and then yeah, and then put them into these different categories. Like reflective carapace is a Tarask trait ability. Anyway, and then negative traits. You could buy a lemon of a horse. Maybe get it cheaper if it's known, or maybe you're going to get scammed. Give the DM some options to play around with things. Make horses and other mounts and pets have things that give them some quirks that can help then define maybe a little bit of a personality for the animals. And yeah, and I don't know about you, but animals have personalities. They can feel pain. They may not be sentient, but they're definitely sapient. Or strike that, reverse it. They have feelings. They can feel pain, etc. They should be treated nicely. Anyway, so then I have a section on using heroic mounts, and this is a system where player characters that keep the same mounts through their adventures, and those mounts are in combat and in danger at a relatively free. They don't have to be in. You don't have to take them into the dungeon with you, but random encounters along the road to the dungeon include the mounts, etc., that can help to level the mounts in a way with the player characters, so that they can take on more damage and more threats. And I have a Slurpee being brought to me right now. Thank you.
Oh, you.
I'm live.
Okay, I'm giving you lighters.
Okay. Thank you. Dead air. Yeah, so the heroic mount system can you can use traits with it. You don't have to use traits with it, but what it does is it just it helps increase the survivability of characters' mounts as they level, because stronger and stronger things are going to be thrown at them. And as a DM, I just feel that the mounts that have stayed with the players should, start to become, a 20th level character that's kept the same mount from level 1 should have, Shadowfax level of legendariness at the very least. Oh my gosh, that is that character's mount. We know, we've heard the stories of that mount being ridden into combat, or whatever. So, I don't know why I minimize. This is that whatever is long time talking to people who aren't interested in role-playing games, and the assumption is anybody coming here to watch this stream or to watch this video when I upload it to YouTube, it's going to be you're the ones that are interested. So yeah, riding into combat, that fought the dragon and survived. This is that horse of that of that player that defeated the dragon. So that's the way we want to do it. Oh, and I got the light from the fan coming in there. That's terrible. I'm sorry. I'll try to adjust that a little bit. I think that'll do it. There we go. There's my ceiling, and it looks terrible, of the garage. Oh, that's way too bad. Let's try that. Maybe if I don't want to do that. And then you guys got to see. Anyway, a little bit more, and I'm like, you're finishing up this video, and now you're doing adjustments. Well, this is live, and so that's what we get. Then spells for mounts. Spells for characters that concern mounts, right? I don't, yeah. And then let's see. Then some new spells. So there's some, all of these are suggested. There's the spell lists. Then modifications to currently existing spells. And then new spells, and the spell list include these spells or not, for what class and level. And then I got the appendix, which is the list of mounts, and these are all Monster Manual Player's Handbook creatures, and they're just split up by common, uncommon, and DMs could decide to have some of the uncommon be common in their campaign, etc. And it's just to help the DM kind of structure how easy and hard and to get the mount is for the players. Work that sentence correctly. And then encumbrance tables, and I just do encumbrance tables for each of the size categories: biped, quadruped, or more than 4 ped, hexaped plus, and then encumbrance by their strength. So we go, I think, from 3 to 25 or 3 to 30 or something like that. I forget. But yeah, so yeah, that's build amount available on Drive-Thru RPG. And I guess that's it. And we'll just close this out. And I streamed my first stream on Twitch, and that's cool. And yeah. So no need to keep looking at my OBS. Thank you. Thank you for joining me, the invisible people that probably, I will never see. But it would be interesting just to see how I do with questions. I figure I would probably talk better in answering statements or questions. Or maybe not. Maybe I'd just be an idiot. Either way, it might be fun. So, have a wonderful rest of the day, and bye.